back to another episode of Writer's Block. I am your host, journalist staff writer Sean Reider. Today we have an excellent UNM UNLV preview with Steve Cofield, UNLV Sideline reporter. He also hosts a great radio show in Las Vegas. Big one for the Lobos. At 5-3, they have an opportunity to lock up their first bowl bid since 2016. So we got into all of that and what the Rebels are kind of looking like at 6-1 this year. So plenty of great content there. But before we get into that, as always, I want to encourage you guys to subscribe to the Albuquerque Journal YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, follow the podcast feed for this and other podcasts, whatever you listen to coming out of the Journal on, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That is how you kind of support these products. That is, how we kind of get to the point where we can do more of these. There's a lot of great stuff coming out right now. So encourage you guys to, support and follow there. And I say it every single show too. If you are so inclined, hop on and, Jeff Graham and I's weekly, bi-weekly live shows that we do every Tuesday after Jay Sneck's weekly press conference, and then Saturdays and all that. When UNM is after UNM has finished their game, we do the weekly live shows then too. Encourage you to hop in and chat with us. Hop in the chat, ask questions and all that. We love doing it. We love the hearing from the listeners and interacting with the listeners and make the show that much better. So encourage you to do all that. But as always, we have a great preview of Steve Cofield right here. Hope you enjoy.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
All right, I am pleased to be joined by Steve Cofield, UNLV Sideline reporter. Steve, thank you so much for coming on today, man.
Yeah, of course.
We'll get down to it at UNM at UNLV on Saturday. Kind of a huge one for UNM in a lot of respects. Opportunity to lock up a bowl bid for the first time since 2016. Also a battle of first-year head coaches, although pretty different first-year coaches, and Dan Mullen and Jason Eck. I thought it was a huge deal in the offseason to get Mullen after losing Barry Odom to Purdue. Kind of saw a little bit of that hype at media days. I have never seen a coach or an athlete kind of hold a scrum like for as long as Mullen did in that kind of environment. And he's been kind of a treat in some respects. I mean, he's tweeting about, I'm not taking the Arkansas job and doing all that and kind of cracking jokes there. Outside of kind of the on-field results in this year one, I mean, how has Mullen played with this fan base and kind of fit in with the community so far?
He's been a dream. He's a fun guy. He's a light guy, and I think a lot of that is he's super confident. He's achieved in the past. I've been talking about it a lot, particularly this week with basketball season starting, that Josh Pastner and Dan Mullen have the same experience. Mullen, winning at maybe some bigger schools, but they both got out of coaching, forced out of coaching. They went into media, so now they have a perspective of what the media does. So they're really easy to talk to. I mean, in game, I do the halftime interview, I do the post-game interview. Halftime interview, I just look at him and I just kind of react to what his face says, and then he just goes. And a lot of times he'll stand there after the second question and he's like, "Okay, more," and I'm like, "No, you can go," because I'm used to most coaches are like super intense and they're like, "I got to get out of here quickly." Now he's awesome, and to your point with the fan base, he's played to it really well. The biggest thing he did, and I'll tell you what's happened over the years at UNLV is with football. The fan base was only, say, like 15,000, 18,000 would show up at Sam Boyd Stadium. They're going into Allegiant Stadium. They got to get bigger crowds. Basketball, kind of the same thing. It used to be 15,000 back per game. They were one of the top five, along with the Pitt, one of the top 5 schools out on the West Coast, Pacific Time Zone, Mountain Time Zone, getting crowds in there. And then it's dwindled. And I don't know that he did this, but I think Eric Harper, the AD, kind of gave both of them the same speech. Like, you've got to embrace the fans. You've got to be available. You've got to talk to our money people a lot. And then the other thing is have a decent working relationship with the media. The media here in Vegas is pretty easy. If you work with us, we're going to be pretty easy on you. But we had coaches in the past who were kind of truculent. They felt like the media was out to get them. And it's like, that's not the deal. As you know, and I'm sorry this is a long answer. As you know, we're losing staffing in media. And basically newspapers and radio stations can make a decision. If you don't want to be cooperative, you don't want the coverage, we won't cover you. So I think they took whatever the words were from Eric Harper to be, to embrace everything in the market. And listen, part of your job as the coach here at UNLV football and basketball is to get fans out, sell the program, raise money now. And both guys have been awesome.
As for the actual game, UNLV 6-1 after losing 56-31 to Boise State. I think going on 2 weeks ago and all that. They're coming off a bye heading into this one. Undefeated start, 6-0 start for the Rebels with a few close calls. I mean, what did you kind of take out of that Boise State game in particular?
Well, they need some fixes on defense. They've got to either change up the personnel a little bit or simplify the scheme because against Boise, who, by the way, the next week went to Reno, and Reno tackled really well and kind of limited them. It's not like they shut them down. They wound up losing 24-3, but yeah. I think they only had 309 yards total offense, which only as compared to 558 against UNLV was a pretty damn good performance. But, I mean, the Rebels had scheme issues, coverage issues, tackling issues. I don't think I've been at a game where a team allowed 14 chunk plays of 19-plus yards. I mean, that's crazy. They won the time of possession battle because every time Boise got the ball, they went right down the field with, seemingly on every drive. It was, a 35-yarder and then a 30-yarder, and it set them up. And Dylan Riley won the Mountain West Conference Offensive Player of the Week. So I don't know what they did. They're not going to tell us what they did in the bye week. I'll tell you this, though. It's very interesting. I don't know what expectations, if they've been reset really quickly at New Mexico, but at UNLV, fans are now crazy. Like you really couldn't get a lot of interest from fans in the past. And then it moved to, hey, let's just make a bowl game. They hadn't made a bowl game in like 10 years. Make a bowl game. And then Odom comes in, goes to the title game, back-to-back years. They want to win 11 games last year. This guy gets out to a 6-1 start, and they have a bad second half against Boise, and people are like, we got to fire people on the staff. You got to make changes. Like, whoa, which in a way is a good thing, but it kind of shows how crazy things get at every level with expectations. So, yeah, defense has got to be a lot better. Otherwise, a defense that is allowing 35 points a game or a little bit more than that is probably going to do the same against New Mexico.
Yeah, we're not quite there in New Mexico yet. I do think if things get to a certain point, there could be that kind of similar vein of we got to make a quarterback change or we got to do this. When really things have been pretty good to start. To kind of talk a little bit more about the defense. I mean, I think like statistically they're allowing like 33.4 points per game, which is like second to last in the league and all that. They have generated a pretty high number of turnovers, though, and that's something Jason Eck kind of talked about. He's like, for whatever reason, they have been really good in that one regard. Yes, they give up a lot of yards, but they've been really timely and kind of coming up with those stops and all that. Do you think there is kind of merit to that? And that, yes, it has not been a great unit, but the fact that they can just do that with all the talent that they kind of brought in.
Well, coaches like that complimentary football comment all the time, and this has actually been a program now through 2.5 seasons that's been, way up in plus minus turnover margin. I think Odom's years, they were like 15th in the country, 6th in the country. Rebels, this team, I think is in the top 15. So one, the offense takes care of the ball for the most part. But two, yeah, they have ball hawks. And Amaris Brown has been really good when he's been healthy coming over from South Florida. They've got a bunch of interceptions. They've been really good, like Johnny on the spot moments, recovering fumbles. They probably don't win the game. They had a massive comeback against Miami of Ohio on the road. They probably don't win the game unless Marcel McDuffie, their linebacker, is there to recover the fumble. So, no, I think that's a big deal. But here's the thing. Even though they've gone 2.5 years with a lot of turnovers being caused on defense, you can't always rely on that. I mean, those are 50-50 things. They change within a year. They change from season to season. Their biggest issue is gap discipline and assignment football. And Mullen has talked about it a lot. They watch film and they're like, don't play hero ball. Don't try to make plays if you're not the guy designed to make the play. Sometimes you're there to fill a spot and allow someone else to make the play. But, they have guys from time to time, and Air Force was crazy. And, if you don't play assignment football against Air Force, they're going to go crazy on you, and they did. So that's the biggest thing. To me, most of it's upstairs with the Rebels defense. And then when they do have good stints, I think they lose their concentration sometimes. So hopefully this bye week, they watch film, they got that assignment football thing down, gap integrity down, and just concentration down.
Offensively, I mean, I think they're averaging like 37 points a game. It's been kind of a not quite night and day difference in the defense, but it's been a really good fun offense to watch. Notably brought in Anthony Colandrea from Virginia, which I was kind of excited about because I liked watching him in Virginia, and I wanted a chance to kind of cover him in the league. What has he kind of brought, to this team in particular under center this year?
Well, he's not as wild as he was at Virginia. He was kind of up and down making turnovers. He's only got 4 interceptions. Amazingly, he's really held on to the ball pretty well because he runs a lot. He gets the ball out on time. They have a really creative pass game, and there's a lot of short stuff, but he doesn't wait. You get the ball out, you make a decision, you find your receiver. So he's been good at that. He's been really good, like I said, taking care of the ball when he runs, but timely runs. He's had so many big third down conversions, and there's something about him. He's a lot faster than I think people realize. He's a tough dude. He's a good leader. I'll tell you, when I get the unique perspective, and this is why I like doing sidelines. I get to see how players react, especially in downtimes. And man, he'll show a little disappointment, but he's pretty steely. And now with these tablets on the sidelines, I really watch to who pays attention and who gets right to the tablet and who doesn't. And I think it's the biggest. I know this is stupid, but I think it's one of the bigger things with UNLV's offense. They stay composed and they go right to the sideline and they're communicating, and they've got leaders. Like, he's got a guy in Cam Friel who's been around the program as a backup quarterback for 5 years, and he's kind of a mentor. He's a calming element. He gets right over there, starts watching the tablet. There might be receivers who come over and they're like, "Give me the ball," and he's like, "Okay." The O-line is really good at that. The running backs have a really calm group, and the receivers, like, their most explosive guy from a personality standpoint and on the field is Jaden Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll get a little bit wild on the sidelines, but the rest of that wide receiver group is pretty focused. I think that's the biggest thing that Mullen has brought. Mullen will come over a lot of times after a turnover or a 3 and out and just be like, "Just do your job. Just calm down." You'll rarely see him. I think I've seen him twice come over and get a little bit loud when it comes to penalties and mistakes. But that's about it. He comes over and he's a calming element. So the offense has a real calm nature to it, in the midst of being super explosive, and especially on deep shots.
Run game for the offense has been kind of awesome. Colandrea is a huge part of that, given what he does. And I do like that you mentioned kind of his speed, because that's really kind of what Eck talked about this week. The idea that you compare him to Bryson Barnes. Barnes is more of kind of like a Tebow type, just rumble down the field and really tough. Whereas Colandrea is just really fast and can kind of throw you off there. But obviously, Jaden Thomas, preseason All Mountain West back, has been pretty great to this point in the season as well. Has he kind of elevated, do you think, or what has he kind of brought to the team at this point?
That's really interesting, because the fans, that's one of the things, believe it or not, averaging whatever it is now, like 7-8 a carry. Fans have actually been frustrated that he doesn't get the ball enough. But
Yeah.
Mullen's design is, they want Jet Thomas to be fresh in the fourth quarter. They brought in other veteran running backs. They've got Kevon Leon from Penn State, Mississippi State. He's the big guy, 6 foot 220. They've got kind of a bowling ball running back, and Jalen Glover, who was at Utah, and Mullen had recruited him back in the day when he was at Florida. So they have depth at the position. So they will mix it up. Sometimes there's been games, I don't think this will be the case this week. Sometimes there's games where Jet Thomas gets 1 or 2 touches in the first quarter, but they want to ensure that he's ready to go to kind of be the closer, drop the hammer, be fresh in the fourth quarter. But the big surprise in that Boise game was Jalen Glover went, I think it was like 7 for 113.
Yeah.
Now he's healthy. So he hasn't been that healthy all year. I actually think Jet Thomas, in spite of the numbers, actually hasn't been 100% for much of the year. He's been listed as questionable on some Thursday reports, but yeah, their run game has been pretty damn good. Their run blocking is good. And I would say their only issue on the O-line is at the tackle positions and in pass blocking. And they've done a decent job between Austin Boyd and the left tackle, Will Thomas, who's a hell of a story, was at New Mexico State, and he's really kind of rehabbed his personality. But that would be the one thing that's a challenge for them, are edge rushers, and especially small, fast, smaller edge rushers.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you start 6-0, and you're kind of pulling out wins and making it all happen, all that, and there's a good deal. Then you go up to Boise, UNLV, and then kind of comes down, right? 56-31 loss, just not great in a lot of respects. How is UNLV kind of treated this bye and the opportunity to kind of get right against New Mexico? Have you heard them kind of talk about that?
Hit the reset button. I talked to one of the offensive linemen, the right guard, Alani Makahele, and he said, sometimes it takes a loss to kind of, get going again. They didn't want to lose that game, and they hate losing to Boise because now they've lost a bunch of times, especially up there. No, I think it's just a chance to refocus. In spite of having almost a brand new team with, 55 plus new players, like 35 transfers, they are an older team with all of these transfers, guys who have had 2, 3, and 4 stops. So I think they, especially on defense, I think they know what's going wrong. Now they have to execute, and they've got to be more disciplined. But every goal is still in front of them. They don't control their own destiny in terms of making the Mountain West Conference title game. And losing to Boise is not great in a tie-breaking situation. But, if they win out, then they have a shot. Now, will they win out? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. They won a lot of close games in those 6 straight to start the year. I thought they'd go 8-4 this year. I'm probably more comfortable saying maybe they can go 9-3, but hell, they could lose several of these games down the stretch. New Mexico's really, really good, a well-coached team. I think even CSU up there, a couple of weeks is going to be a challenge, even with a new coach. Hawaii is a gigantic rivalry game. We know Nevada is going to be all fired up for the game when they play. So it's a tough slate the rest of the way.
CSU has also kind of loused up any, I have no sense of what they're going to be when UNM plays them. So I kind of get you. I feel like they could be pretty good. I feel like they could be pretty terrible. With that in mind, though, focusing on this Saturday and all that, obviously it's a huge opportunity for UNM. But they have not been great on the road for the most part, particularly against conference opponents. And then it's an opportunity for UNLV to get right and kind of take care of business once again and get back in the win column. Do you have kind of a off the dome score prediction for Saturday?
I think it's going to be high scoring. Mullen talked a lot about the Lobo defense, but this offense really hasn't been slowed down by anyone. But I don't believe that UNLV is going to be able to shut down someone for all 4 quarters. So I think the game will be played probably with both teams scoring in the 30s, maybe a 38-34, maybe 10 UNLV win, maybe tack on some extra field goals. It's a good kicking environment, obviously, inside Allegiant. So close game in the 30s. I think it's a shootout, but New Mexico could win it. I think UNLV will win it, but New Mexico could win.
Steve, that is all I have. Thanks so much for coming on, man. It was awesome talking to you.
Of course. Look forward to seeing you.